Hello, my name is Donovan Poland. This is the completion of the Week 2 Contacts API for CSE 341. First, let's take a look at the routes. So as you can see, I am using Express Router here, and I'm ignoring very specific routes on my Swagger documentation. But the important part is I'm importing this contacts router, which contains all of the routes for my contacts. And then that goes into my app.js. So if we come into my actual contacts route, you can see I've got a get all contacts route, a get contacts by ID route, this post route for creating contacts, a put route for updating contacts, and delete contacts route. Here I've got each of my controller calls. These will actually do the creation, the get, the updating, and the deleting. And we don't have time to talk about all of the other things that I've incorporated. But needless to say, I have some rate limiters, validation, and error handling global error handling that goes into the processing of these contacts before it actually is created, deleted, updated, etc. The key here is going over the Swagger documentation. As you can see, I've got these special comments here, and these are here specifically because of my global error handler. If I look at my controller, I only ever give one response, and that is a successful completion of update or create or delete. And I do this because there would be too much going on per controller if I didn't centrally manage the errors. And so when I created my Swagger documentation, it wasn't capturing all of the possible Swagger responses that you could get. So I had to manually create what the responses would be based off of what I designed. If we take a look at this Swagger.js here, this is how I actually created the Swagger JSON file here that actually generates how we will test our API. And so here I've just got the basic document start, and by saying, hey, I've got this version, this is the name of it, here's the description, this is where it's hosted, and then just basically a definition of what kind of objects I'm passing. And all I have to do is run this Swagger command in my console, and it generates this file here. What happens is this actually is used by the Swagger UI to generate beautiful looking Swagger documentation where we can actually test the API. So first you can take a look here, get all contacts, we can try it out, hit the execute button, and where it was sent, which you can see here I'm under site. If I do /docs, that'll actually get to this page, and here is the response that is pulling the data straight from my database. So I have 3 contacts, and you can see that back in my code here. Here's my database. We can refresh this just so you can see. 3 contacts. That'll be important to note as we go forward. Okay. Here I've got a 200 response. Everything is good. And these are the kinds of responses you could get if you hit the rate limit or there's a server error. Otherwise, you're just going to get a contact received successfully. So let's minimize that. We'll come down here to, let's create a contact. So right here you can see first name, last name, email, favorite color, and birthday. These are all the shape of a single contact. If we want to try it out, we can actually come in, and the Swagger file actually auto-generates this for me so that I don't have to type this in, and I can save some time. So here's the created first name, the last name, here's an example email, color, and the birthday. If we execute this as if we were inserting this into our database, here's our response right here. And here's the possible things that could happen if we don't do our data entry correctly. So, and let's grab, since we just created this guy, let's grab this ID, minimize that, and just pop over here, we can refresh. There it is. Create first name, create last name. That is the one we just created. Now if we come over here and we put, this is where we'll actually update our ID. So let's try it out. Throw in that ID that we just copied. And you can see it's going to change the name to update first name and update last name. And it's actually going to change this date if you notice. Well, let's hit execute. There you go. It's updated. Let's look at the database again. See, create first name. If we refresh, that now says update a first name. And then all we got to do is come in here, try out our deleted, throw in that ID again, and execute. There we go. We get a message back saying this has been deleted, and here's the deleted contact. And then if we go back to our database, refresh, that contact is no longer in the database.